Hey there, welcome to Craft Central Designs. Today I have for you a lovely door or wall decor piece that you could create for Valentine's Day and then easily transform for spring, or just skip the Valentine's Day and just go right to creating it for the spring. And I'll tell you how you can do that. As well, aside from the scrapbook paper and the Excelsior I used, you could create this piece solely from Dollar Tree materials. I love this one, created in a rustic farmhouse vibe, and I hope you love it as well and perhaps feel inspired to create one. Welcome to my channel today. If you are not currently a subscriber and you enjoy this video tutorial, I hope you will become one. And as well, give this video a thumbs up. And as always, your comments and questions are always welcome. Okay, let's look at the materials that you will need to create this lovely door or wall decor piece. I created the piece that you see all the florals in by simply creating a kind of a sack with burlap. I got this piece of burlap from the Crafter's Square section at the Dollar Tree. Now, if you can't find that burlap at the Dollar Tree, you could always get a piece of burlap at Walmart or Joann Fabrics by the yard. That piece is 18 by 21. I did use a little piece of another one as well when I created the hanger, but that's not absolutely necessary to have another piece because you could use a burlap ribbon. I have here this balsa wood. It's a very nice type of crafting wood that you can actually cut with scissors. It's very flexible, but what I'm going to do with this is create an insert for the burlap container, if you will, that I created just to give it a solid backing. You're going to need a piece of floral foam. I purchased that at the Dollar Tree, as well as some greenery, which you could get at the Dollar Tree. Mine happens to come from Hobby Lobby. I always get my greenery there and my florals because, well, I just love their greenery and their florals, and I get them at 40% off every other week. So I'm just showing you some selections there. I used a few different types of greenery, as I always do whenever I create any kind of floral piece. I love the varied textures and colors. That's one of my absolute favorite flowers from Hobby Lobby. I did not use them, however, but they were an option for this piece. I used 3 small bloom roses, all of which were red. And you can see there, the ones that I chose are very beautiful. Now, if you want to do this piece not Valentine's Day, but more spring, you could use daisies. You could use tulips. You could use a combination of all different types of flowers, whatever you like. You don't need a lot because there's not a lot of room inside that burlap container that I created, and you'll get more of a sense of that here in just a bit. But it's just a very cute piece that's really from top to bottom handmade, except for, of course, I didn't hand make the flowers, but I did a lot of the elements of this piece, and it's just a very, very cute, very pretty piece, which you could do again for Valentine's Day, or just skip that if you're tired of Valentine's Day decor already, which I'm not, but obviously because I made this one. But that's the scrapbook paper that I mentioned that you would not be able to get at the Dollar Tree. But you don't have to cover your hearts with scrapbook paper. You could just go with paint or Waverly antiquing wax. I had there some twine that matches really beautifully with that cream-colored burlap. I got that one at Joe. Oh, good heavens. Michael's. I got that at Michael's. But you could use a regular burlap for this piece, a regular burlap color, and use the jute twine from the Dollar Tree. Now, what I had there in my hand was some pit berries. You can, if you're going to do a Valentine's Day piece, you could pick those up at Hobby Lobby. You can leave them out if you like. I only put a few in there. I'm showing you some options here for ribbons. That one I just had in my hand had frayed edges, so I was kind of thinking, it was a little more on the rustic side. And then I showed you another one there, which I did not end up using either of those, but they were options. Otherwise, of course, you'll need the regular crafting tools, hot glue gun, scissors. You're going to need some miter shears, but absolutely not totally necessary if you have dull scissors. Okay, so I opened up my burlap and I ironed it very thoroughly. Don't try and work with wrinkled up burlap. That's just not going to work. Okay, so I'm taking the long end, the 21-inch side. I rolled it up twice, about, I want to say 2.5 to 3 inches. Now I have that all folded over and I went ahead and I pressed that. Then I turned it over with those folded sides down now. Now I'm going to fold back the other way toward me about 1 inch of burlap, and I pressed that down. You see how I have the folded side down, and then I rolled that 1 inch side up toward me. Now I'm going to use Aleene's Fusion glue and also Aleene's tacky glue, and I'm just going to glue this container, if you will, together with those two combinations of glue. So I'm going to fold that over into at about an 8-inch wide, let's say a sack, if you will, okay? So I'm going to fold that over, and what I'm going to do is glue the edges at the bottom. I'm showing you here again. I folded it over till it was about 8 inches in width. Now I'm going to take my Fusion glue, Aleene's, and a combination of that and Aleene's tacky glue, and that will assure most definitely that this is not going to come apart. I'm going to make sure my little edges are even, and I'm going to use my little Dollar Tree clips to hold that closed. Then I'm going to fold it over, and I'm going to then go ahead and continue gluing. So now what I'm doing is I am gluing the bottom edge of that burlap container together with those two types of glue. Using my clips to hold that. Make sure the edges are even. Now this is really, really easy to do. If you need to watch me do that a couple of times, just back up the video and watch that. Now I'm going to also now take my glue and close up the back side of my burlap container, just with a little glue. Okay, so that's the back side. You'll never see that seam because that will be against the wall or the door. But, it doesn't look unsightly. I'm not implying that. It's just that's the back side. Okay, so anywhere else that I need to glue together, there at the top. Now that's the top where I have my hand, where we did those two nice folds that are about 2 to 2.5 inches. I want to say 2.5. And I'm going to glue everything all together so that basically what I have here is a burlap pocket. You could think of it like that, and that in it essentially is going to be the hanger or the the piece that's going to hang on the door or the wall. That's going to hold all of the elements, whatever you're decorating with. For me, it's hearts and roses and greenery, and of course the ribbon. Okay, so I put down my little bench cookies to weight that down, and we're going to just let that set aside and dry. Then I decided, furthermore, to put this fabulous cutting board that my son made. He does beautiful woodwork. Both of my sons do. And my daughter's very crafty as well. So yeah, I think they got the gene. They have other attributes as well, but that's their side thing. They're all creative, and I love it. Okay, so I took another piece of burlap, and I'm going to create a hanger. And I cut this about 3 inches wide. And however long you want your hanger, I believe I cut this in about 18 inches long. I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm going to iron it after I folded it in half. That ironing tip comes in, from my way back when I was in junior high and I took sewing classes. And I think that's what really started the bug for me, just becoming creative and loving to create things. I'm a very good sewer as well. So I've been sewing most of my life. So yeah, that ironing tip, that's always the best way to do when you're working with fabric, is to iron as you go along. Really helps the process. Okay, back to the process. Speaking of, I put a little glue to close up that hanger while I was talking. I didn't mention that. I'm going to fray that edges of that hanger a little bit later. Now what I'm doing is taking that little balsa wood piece. You could get this at Hobby Lobby or Michael's, but I'm telling you, you could just as easily put a heavy piece of cardboard in there. All you're looking for is something with strength. Cut up a cardboard box and cut a piece that will fit and slide right down inside of that pocket. And that's easy enough to do. If I hadn't used this and had this on hand, I probably would have used a piece of cardboard, because that's all you really need. So I'm taking my old scissors because my good ones I would not be cutting this wood with. And I cut my piece, and now I'm just sliding it in there. I could see there I needed to iron a little bit more. I had a little tiny bit of a crease. I tell you that burlap, once it's rolled up in that piece that you purchase from Crafter's Square at the Dollar Tree, boy, it's hard to get the wrinkles out of that. Okay, so my cut in half my floral foam from the Dollar Tree. Now what I'm going to do is cut the lower edge off down to a point. Because if you think about it, that pocket is going to be wider at the top than it is at the bottom. So I want my floral foam to sit down nicely in there. So that point is going to go down toward the bottom, just like that. And it's going to be thicker at the top. And I figured that this would work. As usual, I'm just creating this as I go along. But it kind of came to me, and I have dreams about crafting. I know that might sound weird, but I actually do dream. And then I wake up and I realize I have to do the piece. This was one of them. Yeah, it's true. I do that. Okay, so I did 2 of those pieces, and I, cut that down to the point, popped it in there. Now for the little bit of area on the sides, you can simply shove some of that Excelsior down in there. Now this, I would say you have to purchase at Hobby Lobby or Michael's. I don't think I've ever seen it at Dollar Tree. Now, if you want to, you could use floral, not moss, but what's the word I'm trying to think of? You know what I'm talking about? The little shreds. It'll come to me. Okay, you could use that. It's kind of a brown color, They do have that at the Dollar Tree. You could use that. But it depends if you don't care about having the Excelsior poking out the top. I did care about it, so I used that Excelsior. I pushed it down in the sides where the little area was empty down in there. And I used a dowel to kind of help me push that Excelsior down in there. I also put some on top of the floral foam, which I ended up moving off of there later so I could see the floral foam to poke in the roses. Okay, so I mentioned to you before that I'm going to be fraying the edges of my hanger, and that was just for effect. You don't have to do this part. I just wanted a little bit of fraying to kind of go along with the rustic kind of farmhouse vibe I'm going for here. So I'm just taking my little picker tool from the Crafter's Square section at the Dollar Tree, and I'm just kind of fraying the edges, which, if you know burlap, that's easy to do. And that's going to be my hanger. And I'm going to be attaching that with glue to each side of my burlap pocket. And we're going to do something else to this burlap pocket that turned out to be such a great addition to this. And I'm going to be putting trim on it, which came from the Dollar Tree. Okay, so now I'm going to attach my hanger. So I'm going to use Aleene's Tacky. And I believe I used hot glue here. Yes, I used both. So I'm just going to attach that to the very side, moving my Excelsior out of the way there. And I just adhere that right to the side. So this is going to be kind of like a pocket hanger or a sack hanger or a piece that holds all of those elements that we're putting on this piece. And I think it's just really cute. It's really kind of a rustic farmhousey vibe, and I really like that. Okay, other side. Pop it to the inside of the pocket, not the outside. Make sure it's nice and straight on there. And it was that easy. Oh, look how nice. It already has a really nice shape. For a piece of burlap, we're doing pretty good so far. I like the folded over addition to that piece. I think it looks really nice. I'm going to show you later how we added the trim. And oh boy, did that take it up a couple of notches, if you will. Okay, so now I have my Dollar Tree hearts. Do I love these or what? I absolutely love them. I've used them like crazy with my Valentine's Day projects. They come in a little bag obviously in the Valentine's Day section, and there's a couple of different sizes. Some of them come plain with no color, no paint. So what I'm doing here is I am going to use some Waverly Antiquing Wax, which I got at Walmart. Now you could use brown paint if you have that. I have never gotten paint at the Dollar Tree, so I couldn't swear, of what quality it is. I'm not going to guess it's great. I hate to say that, but you could always add water to it if they have brown. But otherwise, you could use any kind of stain that you have, maybe around your house. Okay, so you could see I did 5 of those hearts, one of which is going to go on my little messy hanger, or my messy bow. That's going to be hanging or attached right to the side of that burlap pocket. All right, so I am going to add some hearts with scrap of paper. Now, the scrap of paper that I chose, it's more on the more rustic farmhouse side, if you get what I mean. It's a darker red. There's no glitter, so that's why I chose that. Okay, so Mod Podge, very easy. Just take a sponge applicator, spread some Mod Podge around on there. I'm sticking things to my table here, fumbling, and now I'm back. Okay, so I'm going to pop that scrapbook paper on. I did cover the front and the back. Now for any of the overlap or the extra overlap on the edges, I did use my little zip sander. You could use as well an emery board or a little piece of sandpaper. And I just cleaned up those edges. I did one side, cleaned up the edges, then I put the scrapbook paper on the other side. And I did a few of those hearts. Now, if you're doing Valentine's Day, that's up to you how many hearts you want, what shape hearts you want, and what colors. Or if you want to just stain them all. I mean, that's completely up to you. If you're doing just a spring piece, you may not want to put anything in there as far as any wood pieces. But if you are looking toward Easter, you might want to think about popping in, if you're doing this piece, something Easter in a wood that you could cover, like a little bunny, something like that. Little Easter egg, a little wooden Easter egg on a skewer. You'll see how I attach those in a little bit. Okay, I'm showing you all the ribbons. This one was questionable. It came from the Dollar Tree. It has red glitter hearts on it, so I ended up not using it because I elected not to introduce anything glitter on the piece. I am putting together a number of different types of ribbons. I am bringing in those two pretty green ones. Those were clearance ribbons from Joann's after spring last year. Always check out the clearance at those types of stores, especially Joann's. They have fabulous ribbons. I'm going to use a burlap ribbon. I'm going to use some of that cord. I'm going to use some Valentine's Day ribbons. I cut them around 18 inches. And I'm going to cut 2 of each of the ones that I'm going to be using. I also had a very narrow little burlap ribbon. So I'm going to begin cutting all of my ribbons, and then I'm going to stack them all together and attach them together with a piece of floral wire. So I'm going to use that gingham check, cutting a couple of pieces, around 18 to 20 inches. It just depends on how long you want those ribbons to trail down the side of the piece. That's completely up to you. Now, if you're doing a spring piece, oh boy, you could go great. You could do polka dots, mix it with a gingham check. Oh my goodness. I could go crazy with that one because I love all the spring, especially the Easter. Oh boy, I can't wait to get to that. Okay, but I'm not there yet because I'm still doing this Valentine's Day piece. Now, it's up to you to use your imagination. If you don't want to do Valentine's Day, how you could do this exact piece using all the same principles and all the same methods and techniques that I'm doing, but just do it your way. Just create it with daisies or tulips or whatever, and then choose some narrow ribbons that are pretty and spring-like, and yellows and pinks and orchids, whatever matches your flowers. Now, Dollar Tree, of course, always has florals, which I'm sure they're going to be getting in their spring soon, if they haven't already. Hobby Lobby, every other week, their florals are 40% off. So you can see me hesitating there. And as usual, if I'm thinking, I'm tapping my finger. That's how you know. And I said, no, burlap was fine, but not the glittery hearts. Okay, so now, furthermore, what I'm going to do is take my, it's kind of a burlap cord. I love it. I got it at Michael's, but I'm going to create 4 figure-8 bows with about 3.5-inch loops, I want to say. 3.5 inches in length. And I just create those in the same fashion that I always create my figure 8 loops, over, under. And then I'm going to be popping one of my stained hearts right in the center of there. And I'm choosing the one that has that kind of farmhouse look to it. Now, if you're doing this for spring, you could always put a little very, very small little flower in the center. Or you could just wrap the center of that little bow with a piece of ribbon. It's up to you. You could also just create a bow with ribbons to put on the side of this piece as well. You don't have to do the bunch of trailing ribbons like I'm doing. Like I've mentioned in a previous video, I'm always going to give you options or ideas how you could change it to make it your own. So that would be, why I always say, well, you could do this or you could do that. Okay, so that very cute little heart, I believe that came from, the Dollar Tree. Now I'm going to start stacking my bows, and I'm just placing all of my bows with the center of those pieces there underneath my thumb, so that most of the tails are pretty evenly matched as they trail down from my hand. And I'm going to mix it up, stacking them, changing up the ribbons as I go. Then I'm going to take a piece of my 26 gauge floral wire from the Dollar Tree. Love it. I get it back in the floral section. I thought about using lace, and then I said, no. You'll see that I don't end up using that. But I'm going to take that wire and just wrap it around the center of that collection of ribbons. I'm going to squeeze it all together. And then I'm going to be attaching that. Now, you say, well, how could I change up this piece if I glue that on my piece? Well, I'm not gluing it on the piece. I'm going to show you how you attach these and any bow to a wood dowel. And you poke that wood dowel down inside into the floral foam. And then you can pull it out and change up your bow. Same thing with your hearts. They're going to be on a skewer stick from the kitchen section at Dollar Tree. And you could just pull them out after Valentine's Day. You can keep your pocket in plain words, keep your greenery, change up your flowers. Very easy. Change your bow. Bam, you have a spring arrangement, so you could keep it on your door. Okay, now I'm going to show you what I did here. This was a really nice find. Okay, I had two choices here. It was a big decision for me. One of them is a Simplicity trim from Walmart. Look how nice that looks on there. Beautiful match. But look what this one looks like from the Dollar Tree. Look how pretty that is. I went back and forth. Which one am I going to use? Because they both were so good, so perfect. But I ended up using that one. Okay, so now that was a Dollar Tree find. So I made up my mind, and now I am going to take my Aleene's Techie glue, and I'm going to glue that on. Now I'm going to glue it on closer to the bottom of that folded area than the top. You could put it down the center if you wanted to, but I personally thought it would look better about a half an inch up from the edge where that burlap is folded over at the top of that pocket. Okay, so easy enough. I'm just going to take my glue and put that on all the way around, starting on the back. That really, really looks nice on there. But I'm not done yet. Look how pretty. Very nice. Okay, So I thought, why not place that trim at the bottom? That would really finish off that burlap pocket. So that's exactly what I did. And I left the little scalloped edges extend very slightly from the edge. So I got a nice scalloped little edge to the bottom of that piece by doing that. Okay, so here's the skewers from the kitchen department at the Dollar Tree. Using Aleene's tacky glue, I'm going to just glue those to the back of my hearts. And I'm showing you here, guess what I forgot to do? I forgot to use Waverly Antiquing Wax on the back side of my wood hearts. Yep, so that's what I had to kind of backtrack there and take care of that. I wanted them all, to be completely finished on the front and back. I didn't want the back side to look like wood, even though I'm sure up against a wall or on a door you probably wouldn't notice it, but yeah, I would think that would look nice just to finish everything. Okay, so I put my wood skewers on my hearts, finished doing that job right there, and then I put them on those as well. All right, now here's my wood dowel. This is a longer one. I had this one from a project I did that I had gotten them. They're 12 inches long, and I got them from Hobby Lobby. Now, they do have 6-inch ones. Not always, but sometimes you can find 6-inch dowels like this at the Dollar Tree. And honestly, that would be fine. You just want to attach your ribbon, your narrow ribbons, if you're doing this particular look for your piece. Right at the top, I'm going to use a clip and let that dry. Then I'm going to take my wood heart, tilt it a little bit sideways, and put it on my little loopy bow there with my little kind of burlap twine, which goes very nicely with that burlap from the Dollar Tree. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry, and it's as simple as poking that down inside the bag, and that's how you change out the look of your piece. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be difficult. Very easy to do. And as well, if you want to change out your flowers, no problem. Just pull them out of the floral foam. Okay, what I'm doing here, I did take some of that Excelsior out of the top just temporarily so that I could find my floral foam. And I found that it was a little difficult to do it with it in there. So I'm showing you there. I've just pulled it out temporarily. Then I was able to find my floral foam. I poked my rose in there. Now I'm putting one flower in the center, one on the left, one on the right. There's not a lot of room for florals in here. If you use a lot of small florals, you'll just have to gauge how much will actually fit in there. But for my piece, I'm just using 3 roses. I'm using my wood hearts for embellishment. And I put a little bit of the little pit berries in there. I was a little bit disappointed that those turned out not to be the type of pit berries that you could spiral around a pencil and curl them, because I actually wanted curly ones, but I didn't happen to have any. I guess you have to get those on the roll to have the wire in them, so you can do that. But I did poke some of those pit berries in there just for texture and visual interest. So my floral foam is holding my roses very nicely in there. Now I will be putting that Excelsior back in there, sticking it in between the flowers. You'll see that later. Look how nice that Dollar Tree trim looks on there. I like that. All right, I'm going to put some greenery in here. Now, how much or how little you put in here, it's up to you. I love this feathery, fine greenery they have at the Hobby Lobby. That one that's in my hand, it comes on in a small bunch. I always make sure I have that on hand. It's one of my absolute favorites. Every other week, the greenery is 40% off at Hobby Lobby. So I'm balancing out my greenery on this piece. As you can see, I've added 3 pieces in there. Now, again, how much, how little, that's all completely up to you. I'm just going to advise you to just try and have some balance to your piece, balancing out your greenery, balancing out your flowers as far as their size and how they appear inside of the arrangement. And you want symmetry. Wherever you see a hole here and there, pop a bit of greenery in there. Now remember, if you're doing this with the hearts, you're going to be inserting hearts in there, so you don't need as much floral or greenery. But if you're doing this for springtime, without any skewers with wood pieces, you'll want to think about how to fill that. Now, like I said, there's not a lot of room inside of that burlap pocket there, so not a lot of florals need to be purchased, but you just want to be sure to have what's going to make that piece really pop and look great. So my hand's a little out of frame there. Forgive me for that. I'm working with a larger piece and I didn't realize, but I'm just taking a few of those pit berries and popping them in there. Now I chose a couple of little pieces of greenery that have like a trailing quality, if you will. I thought it would look nice to have some greenery trailing just a little bit down the side of that piece. Here I'm adding a little bit more pit berries, trying to connect the two of those together so that I can have the red and white effect of the pit berries together, where I'm popping it in there. Now those really do pop, if you will, in that greenery. You can really see them very well. Now you can use pit berries in any type of arrangement, whether it's Easter or spring or Valentine's Day or Christmas. So if you like that look, you can put pit berries in there. They come in all different colors. You'll be able to find them in pinks and light blues and pale yellows for Easter. Okay, so I'm going to use my miter shears to cut my skewers and my dowel that's going to be holding my ribbons. You don't have to have miter shears. Not necessary. You could use an old pair of scissors. And now I'm starting to pop in my hearts here. And these look really cute in this arrangement. So this is very Valentine-ish, if that's a word, with the hearts and the roses. Yeah, it's a really pretty piece. Okay, now my piece with my collection of ribbons, it's all dry, and I have my dowel, which I believe I cut down just a little bit. Yes, I did. I have my miter shears there. And one thing that I like to do is create a cut by turning the dial on my miter shears, if you know anything about miter shears. And then I place my wood dowel on there. And when I cut it, it gives me kind of a point on my dowel. See that? And that enables me to push it down into that floral foam easier, but not absolutely necessary to do this. In fact, you don't even have to probably push it into the floral foam. Right there on the side, it's probably more so going into the Excelsior. But I'm going to pop it in there all the way till it fits all down inside of there. Now my ribbons are all askew here, so I have to straighten everything out. And then I'm going to go about later trimming those, all the tails, to all different lengths. And that's just going to be a pretty embellishment going down the side of that piece. And it's really going to bring the green from the greenery down onto the piece a little bit more as far as visually. See how pretty those green ribbons look in there? All right, so my ribbons got all tangled up in my greenery there, so that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to straighten everything out. My hand a little bit out of frame. Sorry about that. Okay, so now you can see that my ribbons are all in there. Okay, now I'm going to glue my little figure eight bow with my heart right on top of at the very top, right at my dowel. So that if I wanted to take this piece apart and maybe use it next Valentine's Day, simple enough. I just pull it right out of that burlap bag, pull my hearts out. If I don't want to use the roses, pull those out, and then I can change it up to anything that I want. So think about that, when you create pieces, if you can make them more versatile to use from season to season. Okay, so my bow is all on there, my little figure eight bow, all my trailing ribbons. My pit berries look very nice sitting in that greenery. My roses are all tucked in. Now I'm going to finish putting in all of my hearts. Again, I put them at different heights, some lower, some higher, just however they look attractive sitting in there. And I think that those stained hearts really look good in there. I really, really like those. That really brings in the farmhouse, I think. And I could feel that floral foam down inside of there when I poke my hearts in. So that floral foam is doing its job in there. Okay, I decided to put one more little trailing piece. You don't have to do this. You can do this or not do this. And I just attached it by putting it, I did attach it to a skewer. And then I poked it down inside of there. It was just a little random piece that I found in my greenery stash, so I wanted to go ahead and use it. I'm loving all of these ribbons. Now I'm going to start cutting, angling the tails, dividing up each of the different varieties of ribbons, cutting my tails, angling them one way on one side and then the other way on the other side. Love those burlap ribbons. They have a curling quality. The reason why I love them so much. I think I had gotten that ribbon at Michael's. However, I've seen it on Amazon many times. That's a really great ribbon. It's not wired. It feels kind of like a burlap, but it's very lightweight. But I have gotten that at Michael's before as well. Okay, so I'm finishing up all of my trimming here, deciding how long. Some I cut shorter, some I leave longer. I love it. It's so pretty and so simple, but so pretty. Now you can hang that on a hook, or you can hang it up on the wall. You can hang it over a chair. I mean, it's just got a lot of potential. You can hang it on a doorknob, I suppose, because it's really just essentially a burlap pocket. Okay, now you see me putting some of my Excelsior back in here. I love the look of Excelsior peeking out of this type of arrangement. Just little random curly pieces popping up out of the top, peeking through the greenery. Love, love it. Let me know what you think of this one. This one has a lot of steps, but it's just so pretty. And again, it has versatility. You could use it for more than one season. So think of it that way. All right. Let me know what you think of this one. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content, and become a subscriber if you're not already. Okay, one final look at this pretty piece. And until next time, you all take care.